Welcome to Deep Thought. One person can create a culture with their behavior. And I wanted to say with their behavior because, okay, if you're talking about a culture, that's talking about how a group of people behave. Culture comes from the word cultivate. Any culture is really how people behave as far as how they live their life every day, how they mate, how they definitely worship deity, which is one of the greatest creators of culture anyway. Indeed, you could say all the cultures in the world were created from religions. That's a deeper conversation, of course. But it's easy if you're a spiritual leader, or at least hold yourself out to be a spiritual leader, to create a culture. All you have to do is come up with some ideas. I mean, it's done all the time anyway. Come up with some ideas how to do things and then have enough charisma to build a following. And that's easy. Or a school of thought. A school of thought, that's a way of behaving as well. That's a way of behaving as well. It's still a philosophy. It's still a behavior. You know, someone can just say, write a book, and then people follow what's in the book, and boom, you have a culture. You know, Objectivism by Ayn Rand, the author of the book Atlas Shrugged. She really presented a whole culture of philosophy in her book. Yeah, okay, those are easy ways. And indeed, in the age of social media, where one person with a camera, a good microphone, really just a good camera, can create a big following. And then just put their ideas out, and then once you have people following it, say, okay, we're going to behave this way, they can create something. Okay. I want y'all, but you know what? This is deep thought. I want y'all to really think about it. Someone with just their mere behavior, without, you know, they don't have an intention of forming some religion or something, or a school of thought. Shoot, they probably belong to a religious path or follow some type of school of thought, depending on the social class they're in. Say it's one person, just one person now. We'll use the example of a man, though you do have plenty of schools of thought that were created by women, feminism, that people follow. So, you know, but I'm going to use a man because, well, I'm a man. It's easier for me to think as a man. But if you're a woman watching this, it's the same principle. It's the exact same principle. And I'm not politically correct to the point where I'm going to use the term they. I'm just, no disrespect to those who use it, but I'm old school. You know, I'm old school. Hey, I'm still growing and I'm not politically correct. So anyway, right? Say you have one man. And say, for whatever reason, he just doesn't follow the crowd. I mean, earlier I said he might follow some religion, but let's say he just doesn't follow the crowd. He could be, you know, you have a group of people online who might say, well, he's a Sigma. Oh, okay, well, I don't follow that alpha, beta, all of that myself. But that's how they might see him. Other people might have, as they saw him when we were growing up, a loner or a lone wolf. You know, they just stay to themselves, and you have some people like that. All right, but say in general, you get some guy and he generally stays to himself. But even as a loner, you are still impacting the people around you, even if you don't say anything. Or if you do say anything, you never know how your behavior might go with the rest. Now, say you have, go against the rest, rather. But say you have a man and, you know, he's to himself. He don't follow the crowd. He cuts his hair the way he wants to cut it. He wears his clothes he still wears them classy. He still cleans them up. But, you know, whatever the style is, he's like, whatever, I'm going to do it this way. And, you know, so he'll do it, you know, wear his clothes a certain way. He'll treat people in a certain manner. You know, he's just totally against the grain in many ways, but not in a negative way. He's just against the grain. You know, some people indeed might even call him weird. They can't get him. But for whatever reason, well, mainly because he doesn't follow the crowd, he actually has a pretty successful life. He actually has a successful life, whether he's working or have a business, but he can still take care of everyday basics, food, clothing, and shelter. All right, he just does things his way. Okay, now somebody say, how could he create a culture? Who would follow that? Well, stick with me for a bit. You know, even though he's general loner, I mean, he ain't like to the point where he's just withdrawn from society. He still interacts with people. Now, okay, here's one path. Here's one path. All right, you know, because I said on my men's channel, there are women who like guys who kind of like march to a beat of their own drum. In fact, because the women doing it. Okay, say he meets a nice young lady. They click. They get married, or since this dude is kind of against the system in some ways, you know, they pledge themselves to each other. In fact, let's go with that. Let's add some stuff. He's not particularly religious, and he don't believe in the state regulating his commitment with someone. That's an important thing. That's an important thing to consider. So he's not following the rest. Okay, bet. All right, and that's part of his culture. It's like, you know, when a man and a woman commit to each other, you know, it's just a private thing, and they just give their word. They don't have the state enforce it. That's part of his culture. Also, part of his culture is a big part of doing for self. Let's add that in there, because I said at first a job, but I said, look, let me make this culture interesting. He believes in working for self. That's his ideal. He has his own business. He provides services. It could be any service, but he believes in working for himself. All right, you got that. He ain't big on the education system. All right, they have some children. All right, well, he ain't big on the system, so, you know, he agrees enough to follow whatever homeschool rules. So the couple they have, let's just say, since they both not in the system, totally working for themselves, and you know what, they grow their own food too. I'm adding more and more in, but that's all a part of their culture. Let's just say in general, it's about do for self. All right, they have 5 children. They homeschool. They teach them everything. They teach them how to do whatever services, and you know, they keep up with what's going on in the world just to know, but that's part of their culture. And you know, they still in a place where they still interacting with people. You know, okay, say they on the street or something, they live someplace, they got a home, they fixing it up, and, you know, and of course he has a business, they have a business, they still interacting with people. Other people see that. Other people see that behavior. They see that, they say, hey, what's going on there? Oh yeah, but this is how they do it. And, you know, even though you can call, in general, loners, even loners got friends. No, it's a long way to be totally outside the circle, and plus, you know, family members and stuff. All right, now say they got the children, and the children still interact with other children. Kids don't give a shit about politics and any of that. You know, they just click. All right, so they get that, but all of a sudden, other people say, hey, I like that idea. Hey, how do you grow that food? Oh, how do you fix your own stuff? Hey. All of a sudden, some people, and he hasn't named it anything. He don't consider it philosophy. That's not him. But because of how he behaved, of course, they're bringing a few fellow travelers. Anyway, like I say, no loner is truly alone. They're gonna know at least a couple people. But at the same time, because of his nature, he's only gonna click with someone who are people who are on a similar vibration. Now, say, so you know, you got a married couple, 5 kids. Well, married, you know, committed couple, I'll use that term. 5 children, homeschooling them. Eventually they start meeting other people on a similar vibration. They start meeting other people. Because somebody on that, people still want community, so they'll still go to places where they can meet people who are at least similar enough so they ain't going crazy. And, you know, and he don't preach it or anything. He said, that's just what we do. They say, hey, you know, we should do that too. Because people, let's be real. People, yeah, they're influenced by the theys, but also who we hang around. You know, we might see somebody and say, you know, somebody might see them and say, you know, they got a great couple. Maybe I need to do what he's doing. You know, a woman might see the wife in a couple and say, wait a minute, her husband respects her, you know, doesn't stifle her voice, lets her have her creativity. And it was like, hey, we should do that too. Wait, they didn't go to the state to call themselves married. They fully committed, more so than people who go through an elaborate wedding ceremony. Boom. All of a sudden, and then the children don't know anything else. They were raised in it, so they're going to find similar and also spread their ideas without even doing anything. All of a sudden, that one man, I say in a 20-year period, all of a sudden, there are 100 people who are on the same vibration. And even though he's not trying to be a leader or give any scripture or any instructions, they still going to like respond or react to what he does. Because in a way, they following him anyway. And so, and it gradually grows. Because I'm going to tell you what, if you look at any, like a movement period, like say one of you want to start like a big movement, the best way to start a movement, is not to do a video, write books. Oh no, spread the movement. You can start a movement that way, but to truly spread it, people, stuff spreads when you know somebody who got into it. Like I don't really share what, my exact practices are, but I would say it was a guy who, I say just watching his behavior, how he interacted with women, people, everything. I was just like, I need to see what's he talking about. In fact, that helped influence me. Let me share about him, because he was an interesting guy. He wasn't a punk. Because I remember we were playing basketball, somebody tried to punk him. He just looked at him, and the guy was like, this was a straight thug who looked at him. And then he had total respect for women. He was one of the few guys who didn't talk, probably the first guy I met who didn't talk trash about women when women weren't around. And I saw how he carried himself, how healthy he was. He was what I would call a genius bruiser. Very athletic, but highly intelligent. And so I was like, so what you into? And that's what started me looking into some other stuff. I was like, okay. That's how powerful it is. And I want y'all to think about that too. And it's not saying, go out and start something or go look for somebody who's doing something, but just understanding, just think about it, the power of one person. You have, I use a great example, the movie Forrest Gump. He influenced a whole lot of things without trying. I mean, he was on the autism spectrum, and he was just living his life. Yet he was making impacts all over the place. Sometimes the most powerful person, a person that touches the lives of many, isn't that person who's doing videos or standing in front of a crowd, but just a person living their life. But they living their life authentic, and other people say, hey, what are they doing? And I saw that too myself. I talked about this before when I was in college. Freshman year in college, I'm always got a book, as y'all see, always got a book around me. I was just like, that's something. That is something. Because he told me, he said, hey, you always reading a book. I was like, yeah. All of a sudden, he started reading books. He said, yeah, I've been reading these books. I actually saw him with a few books, like during his free time. He was just a cafeteria worker, but he said, look, I always see you doing that. You just never know. And it's just something to think about. You know how we do on this channel. It's more about just thinking about it. Just think about it. All right? So anyway, that's all I have for today. Get back with y'all later. Peace and blessing.